Ever catch yourself wondering, what it's really like for those kids growing up with trust funds bigger than some small countries?
Right, like those kids whose summer vacations involve their own yacht.
Exactly. Well, today we are diving deep into I left my homework in the Hamptons. And trust me, things get surprisingly real. Get ready to ditch those money solves everything assumptions because today we're uncovering the anxieties hiding beneath the surface of extreme privilege.
It's easy to think those worries disappear once you've got a chauffeur on speed dial, right?
Totally.
But this book throws open the doors to a world where maintaining your spot at the top comes with a whole other level of pressure, even for teenagers.
It's true. The author, Bryce Grossberg, isn't just some outsider peering in. She's a Harvard grad who spent years tutoring these Upper East Side families.
Wow, so she's seen it all firsthand.
Oh, yeah. She paints a vivid picture of their world. Think pristine apartments overlooking Central Park, vacations in Morocco, personal drivers, you name it.
So we're talking like the real deal, not just a Hollywood version of wealth.
Exactly. But here's where it gets fascinating. Grossberg doesn't just describe the opulence, she reveals how normal it is for these kids. Imagine a student casually comparing the lavish parties in The Great Gatsby to those thrown by her own parents, and it's just another Tuesday.
Wow. I mean, talk about being out of touch with reality.
Totally. Okay, that's wild. It's like that over-the-top luxury is just their everyday reality. But Grossberg doesn't stop at the surface. She uncovers how this lifestyle breeds a particular kind of pressure cooker environment. I mean, forget just attending your kid's soccer game. We're talking parents who schedule multiple tutors, micromanage every extracurricular, and practically have PhDs in their children's academic strengths and
So it's
weaknesses.
like they're trying to engineer the perfect child.
Exactly. And all that pressure to be perfect, to excel at everything, it takes a toll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that need to be constantly on trickles down to the kids.
Right, 100%. They're on this treadmill of achievement before they even hit high school.
I can't even imagine. What's interesting is what Grossberg identifies as the root of it all. Fear. These parents are just striving for their kids to succeed. They're terrified of them losing their social standing.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're running as fast as they can just to stay in the same place. But wouldn't you think these kids, with all the opportunities in the world, would be over the moon? Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Turns out a platinum credit card at 16 doesn't magically erase all your problems, right?
Right?
In fact, Grossberg found it often just throws some seriously high-stakes problems into the mix.
Oh, absolutely.
She talks about these kids practically living on crutches because the pressure to be the best at sports, at everything, is so intense. And
Wow.
don't even get me started on the Ivy League obsession. Like, can you imagine getting waitlisted at Harvard being your biggest fear at 16?
It's a whole other world. But that's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have every material advantage,
Mhm.
every door seemingly open to them.
We'd think they'd be like the happiest kids on the planet.
Right. Exactly. But instead, there's this pervasive sense of emptiness,
It's wild.
like a void where genuine passion and self-discovery should be. It's like they're on autopilot, excelling at everything,
Mhm.
but unsure of what they actually like to do.
It's so true. And, Grossberg actually draws this really poignant contrast in the book. She talks about how, as a kid, she would lie in bed at night, just staring at the ceiling, letting her mind wander.
Something we all did, right?
Totally. But for her students, downtime is almost like this foreign concept.
Wow.
They're constantly plugged in, overscheduled, bombarded with information and expectations. They're never really given the space to just be. And you know what? What really struck me is how Grossberg links this lack of downtime directly to the anxiety these kids are experiencing.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like their minds are stuck in this constant state of on, this never-ending cycle of achievement seeking that leaves zero room for introspection.
Right, like they're always switched on, never able to just dot chill.
Exactly. And the real kicker is this. It's often fueled by the parents' own anxieties about maintaining their status.
Oh, for sure. It all comes back to that fear.
Totally. It creates this crazy, vicious cycle of pressure and performance. So it's less keeping up with the Joneses and more like never falling behind the Vanderbilts. But honestly, imagine being a teenager in that environment. Would you actually trade places? Would you give up those lazy summer afternoons, the freedom to mess up, to discover what you're passionate about, all for a guaranteed spot at an Ivy League school and a trust fund that could rival a small nation's GDP? It really makes you wonder, right? Like, is that kind of pressure cooker existence, even with all the perks, actually worth it in the end.
Right. Is trading your freedom for a golden cage really the definition of living the dream?
Exactly. And Grossberg seems to think the answer is a pretty clear no. Like, she actually challenges us to completely rethink our definition of success. Is it really just about, I don't know, checking off these boxes, fancy degrees, high-paying jobs, a summer house in the Hamptons?
Right, because those things don't automatically equal happiness.
Exactly. So is there something more, something deeper and more meaningful that we should be striving for, both for ourselves and for the next generation?
It's like, what are we actually teaching our kids to value?
It's true. It's like maybe we've been sold a bit of a faulty bill of goods with this whole American dream thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of people wonder about that.
And look, don't get me wrong. Ambition and hard work are great, but not if it comes at the expense of genuine happiness and fulfillment. There's this one part where Grossberg says she wished her students, especially the ones with a real talent for writing, wouldn't all just end up on Wall Street. It just really stuck with me.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a certain irony there. These
Yeah.
kids are being groomed for success, pushed towards these high-powered careers.
Because that's what they're supposed to do, right?
Right, exactly. But what if their real passions lie elsewhere? Like maybe they'd be happier writing poetry or screenplays, but that's not seen as the right path.
It's true. And that really highlights what Grossberg is getting at, right? Like, true success isn't a one-size-fits-all equation.
Absolutely. It's about nurturing the whole person, their individual talents.
Yeah, 100%. It's about fostering their passions and interests, even if those talents don't lead to, like, a corner office and a six-figure salary, which is a whole other conversation.
Oh, their deep dive.
Exactly. But for today, this deep dive into I left my homework in the Hamptons, it's been a real eye-opener. And I think Grossberg would want us to walk away with this one question. If money were no object, what kind of future would you encourage for the next generation? What would you want for your kids, your nieces and nephews, the young people in your life? Would it be a life that's just laser focused on external achievements or one that really prioritizes exploration, personal growth, the freedom to kind of discover their own unique definition of success? I know this conversation has definitely gotten me thinking, and I hope it sparked some reflection for you too.